and it's gonna be awesome. So we're gonna call him like to like call an assistant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or what is that? Phone for help.
Phone for help.
Yeah, we're gonna phone a friend. Yeah. So we're gonna call Bryon Stiky-Tips right now.
You ever won on that show?
No.
He used his phone a friend for $1 million, just to call and tell his dad that he won. He didn't need it.
That's hilarious.
Bryon?
Yeah, this is Bryon.
What is up, dude? It's DJ Ramo for the Metal Mixtape. Welcome. How's it going tonight, man?
Oh, hanging in there. How you doing?
Dude, I'm hanging in there as well, man. I think my radio station got hit by like a lightning bolt. We've been having all sorts of technical difficulties, but it sounds beautiful now, and you sound beautiful, and I am happy, dude.
Right on, man. Lightning, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, right? Who knows? It might head your way too, man. So, Mr. Bryon Stiky-Tips, he's a promoter, he's a designer, he's a man of many talents, and you throw a ton of festivals, man, which is super awesome. Some of the most killer festivals in California, and you make some of the most killer designs as well, man. I was telling all the listeners that you're the one who made the flyer for Medford Metal Fest, and you actually make flyers for a lot of other awesome metal fests, dude. So, dude, that's totally killer, dude. So, of course, we were going to talk a little bit about online events. We were going to talk about how we a lot of promoters around the area have had to cancel festivals, had to cancel shows, and how all the promoters and musicians are dealing with it on the downtime. So, how have you been dealing with it, man? As a promoter, how does it feel? Because I know a lot of time goes into it, a lot of planning, a lot of contacting bands. So
yeah, man. That's the thing is that it's this year we had a lot of things planned for where I live here in Mendocino County, and the reality is with the current situation with the COVID and the uncertainty of it, we were forced to cancel basically all of the events that we had, and I'll tell you, it's definitely leaves a hole, especially when you look forward to them every year, and like you said, the amount of time and energy that goes into planning them, promoting them, booking bands and all that stuff, and to sort of have them taken away by this this thing is it's kind of like getting punched in the gut, but it is what it is,
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think it's like a lot of emotion is built up, because you have to contact every single band, see if everybody's availability. And, a lot of passion goes into like, getting a flyer going and just seeing the lineup and how awesome it's going to be. And I remember for Redwood Metal Fest, you did like a collab with like other promoters around the area. And it was going to be like such a massive festival.
Yeah, that was we had 3 stages planned for that. We had 18 bands. Like as you said, we did a collaborative effort with a bunch of promoters around Northern California, including yourself. And we had really looking forward to it. We had Lich King was going to headline. We had Hellheart on the bill. We had Hellfire on the bill. We had all these great, amazing bands. And we're picking along, and all of a sudden we just get the news that we can't do it. And it was it's kind of like here's the best lollipop you ever had. Here's a taste of it. Now you can't ever have it. It's kind of the same feeling.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, dude. And I think one of the hardest parts was when was the show's gonna come back, when we can reschedule, and then a lot of times it wasn't safe to like. It's tough because like certain bands like that are touring or are playing a ton of shows, when they reschedule, their whole schedule gets rescheduled. So bands that were able to play a festival at the date that you planned for them maybe can't do it at a later time because their tour was postponed and rescheduled. Shows that they already had were canceled and rescheduled. It's crazy to like think about rescheduling with all the bands just because it's just almost impossible.
Yeah, a lot of the bands that participate in Redwood Metal Fest, they're always ready and willing to participate. It's just when we have our big headlining acts, and like you said, when you have that many bands on the bill, and you realize that you can't host it on the date, you have the choice of canceling or postponing. And we chose to postpone until next year, but we can't really say whether we'll have the same lineup next year or not. And so we hope that we can. But that's one of the big parts that's really hardest to deal with is the uncertainty of, you know, what you can and can't do, and sort of having to just sort of sit and wait until somebody gives you the okay. And, you know, that's difficult, not only for myself, but, you know, other promoters and other people that are sort of in the same boat. You know, there's other people that are still looking at hosting their events, like the Iron Mountain Metal Massacre, you know, the Devastation in the Desert. They haven't been told that they can't do their event, so they're still sort of planning for it. And I don't want to see them have to cancel at the last minute, you know. You know, these all of these Northern California promoters like Jim Powell and Dale Level and Chuck over in Nevada, and some of the promoters around the Bay Area closer to where I live. You know, a lot of time and a lot of effort goes into these events, and it's a real bummer when you realize that you can't do it. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree, man, and you know, a lot of planning, a lot of emotion goes into it, and you know, and it's hard to really know when we will be able to have shows back, you know, and at the same time, when they do lift a couple of these laws and all that, you know, there's still going to be restrictions. I mean, I've heard so many things like you know, they don't want people moshing. They only want like groups of 10 separated.
Have you seen some of the
areas.
pictures from the concert they had tried to put on?
Yeah, you know, and I probably have somewhat of an unpopular opinion when it comes to that. I mean, I know that a lot of the other promoters, they have their perspectives and their way of doing things, and you know what they're hoping for. And I'm more along the lines for myself, and the way that I do things is, quite honestly, I can't do anything halfway. And if we can't just do it full bore and full out the way that it was meant to be, I choose to wait. You know, first and foremost, you know, with these events, you know, health and safety is first and foremost.
Absolutely.
And as much as we don't like the idea of somebody telling us that we can't host this event, there's a reason why, you know. And so we have to respect that, and we have to understand that you know, as promoters or organizers of events, we have a responsibility to ensure to the best of our abilities that anybody we invite to these events is safe, in a safe environment. And if we can't guarantee that, at least from my perspective, there's no point in pursuing something that you can't guarantee that safety, you know. And, you know, where it came to Redwood Metal Fest, which was our biggest event this year, you know, that's kind of what came into play. Is that you know, we understood that we couldn't 100% guarantee the health and safety of our patrons, and then, you know, you get to the next step, which is, you know, hey, what if they told us that we could host the event, but with these restrictions? Well, then that only gives us 25% of a plate to play with, and that's not giving our best. And you know, to me, it just seems better to wait until we're able to do that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, dude. I think it's just there's too many risks involved as well, you know, because like, you know, like it's almost weird at this time. You would almost have to like let the fans know, or anybody come in, that like, if you're sick, please don't attend the event. You know, please respect all regulations and all laws. And I completely agree with you, man. Like, one thing, you know, we don't want to risk the health of anybody, but if you're going to bring back an event and you only could really have half the potential, you know, it's very difficult.
Yeah, you know, and like I said, there's other promoters and other organizers and other people that book events that might look at it differently. I'm pretty stuck in my ways, and you know, like I said, to me, the being a promoter and an organizer of events comes with more responsibility than just picking bands. Yeah. And doing logistics, and you know, and hiring sound guys. You know, like I said, we have a responsibility to make sure that we provide it in the safest possible way. And given the current, you know, climate, the current situation of things, we literally don't have that ability, in my opinion. So, as much as I am, you know, disheartened about, you know, having to cancel my events, I don't regret it, because I feel like it's probably, at the end of the day, it's probably the best choice, whether I like it or not.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, dude. And you know what I have been seeing from this whole COVID thing, from like musicians staying home and all that. I've seen so many new bands come out with new albums, new music videos, new recordings, that I feel like once we're all able to come back and play shows, man, like every scene is just going to come back like 5 times stronger. Yeah,
you know, that's one of the things is people sort of have this fear for some reason that the scene is going to die or the scene is going to go away, and you know, the scene's too strong. it's never going to die. It's never going to go away. It's just on a hiatus, whether we choose it to be or not. That's the current state of things. But when it comes back, it's going to come back strong, and it's going to come back probably stronger because people have been left wanting, and people are craving it. So when it does come back, we don't have any worries, I don't think, about the scene being so damaged beyond repair that we can't do shows in the future.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of waiting till we get to the point where we can unleash and we can do that, then it's going to be 150% guaranteed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what's one of the little things I've noticed from this whole quarantine is that a lot of bands have been doing online shows, or they've been streaming like online from their practice rooms, and I'm seeing more people view their shows than I would see people attend an actual show.
I have a theory about that. A couple of theories. One theory is, let's face it. I mean, people in general these days are fairly dependent on technology and cell phones and computers, and this immediate access that we have has made us fairly lazy. So, from a promoter's standpoint, it actually is kind of difficult to get people off the couch these days to go to a show. Mm-hmm. Not that we can't fill a room, but we have to work pretty hard to convince people that what we're giving them is, worth them getting off the couch to come out.
Yeah.
We're in a spot now where we don't really have that to wave under their nose. So here's this, thing that people are already kind of used to, is staring at a phone or staring at a computer. And now it's kind of being utilized in a way that's entertaining and sort of bringing some culture. And that's a good thing. I don't think that online streaming can or should replace live music, because
Absolutely.
There's a culture in live music that you just can't duplicate.
Absolutely.
But these online shows are a good space holder. They're a good bookmark while we're waiting. It's a good way for bands to stay present. It's a good way for bands to stay relevant and in people's minds. And, it's definitely an ability for bands to still, reach their fans that they have and still find new fans. And, I think it's a good thing. I think that maybe it won't last beyond this whole COVID adventure, but it's definitely a new platform that's being explored, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having another avenue to reaching your band. So if that's what we have right now, let's exploit it as best we can and put as many bands on there as we can, and share as much music as we can with people.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, dude. And you've actually been organizing some online events yourself, right?
Yeah, up until about 2 months ago, I really had no clue how to pull something like that together. And a friend of mine, a big promoter guy from down in San Jose, named Jimmy Arsenault, he gave me a call one day and said, "Hey, we're putting together this thing called the Sofa Street Fair, which is typically a big fair that they do, a street fair that they do in downtown San Jose. They have like 18, 20 stages outdoors, and thousands of people have come. They've done it for many, many years in a row. And obviously this year they couldn't do it because of the COVID. So at the last minute, about a month before the event, they decided to switch it to an online sort of venue. And he called me up and asked me if I'd like to participate. And first I kind of was like, well, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know anything about how to do this. Well, they gave me a crash course in it. They showed me how to do it, and I was able to participate, and we produced a stage, or a channel, if you will,
mm-hmm.
within this virtual event called the Emerald Stage. And the event itself, as a whole, had about 22,000 views. And suddenly, when you realize that you've reached that many people, something kind of clicks in your head that, like, hey, I need to explore this a little more. So having learned the process, there's no reason to not continue with that formula in some format to continue to try to bring music to people. And, so we've got, as a result of that, I've formulated 4 events that we're going to do over the course of the next few months through the summer. We've got coming up on June 27th, we've got the first one called the Northern California, hold on a second, the Northern California Hardcore Extreme Festival, and we've got 8 bands on that with Embryonic Devourment, Blessed Curse, X Method, a few other bands, but it's all just really hardcore metal bands and punk
mm-hmm.
bands. And then on 4th of July, shortly after that, we're putting together the Online Punk Fest, which we're still wrapping up the lineup for that. And then later in July, we've got the New Blood Festival, which is basically a festival paying homage to the up and coming younger bands in the Bay Area, Northern California, kind of a new wave of heavy metal. And then August 22nd, which would have been the Redwood Metal Fest date, we're doing the Redwood Cyber Fest in place of it. And we've got quite a few bands that we're going to play Redwood Metal Fest and have played Redwood Metal Fest in the past, have jumped on board for that. So, we've got some pretty good things coming along.
Dude, I think dealing with I think I'd be a little afraid of throwing like an online event, just because like you're having to deal with like the internet service of each individual band, the video recording equipment that they're using. Like, are all the bands like pre-recording a performance and then you're playing it all live, or just streaming it, or how does that even work?
Well, there are other, shall I say, more savvy people in that are doing these streaming events that will do live stream, and I've seen it done, and it works really well if you absolutely know it inside and out. It's one thing to stream one band, but to live stream a plethora of bands all in succession with, the same as you would with a festival with time slots and all that stuff, it becomes very difficult. It's not impossible, but you end up focusing on putting it together and working it rather than, trying to have fun with it. So my approach is to have all of our bands that participate to pre-record performances for us and submit videos. Now, each of these videos, obviously, they're created specifically for the event, so you're not getting, just something that they did last week in their garage for fun. They're creating videos with artistic qualities to it, and they're editing them, and they're putting good sound quality, and they're taking their time to present their bands in a way that they want people to view them. And it's entirely up to the bands to what they present. So when I stream these videos within these events, I'm literally watching them in real time with the other people, with the audience. So I'm just as surprised as they are.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's got to be a whole entire new experience, dude. I couldn't imagine, but I know I'm super excited for all the festivals, dude. But I'm really hoping next year we're able to get back on track, and everybody stays healthy, and we just get to play some heavy metal music again.
Yeah, it's coming, man. The music doesn't die. It's in a lull. We're in a trough right now, but the wave's coming back. It will. It has to. Even if this COVID thing doesn't go away, eventually we'll adapt and we'll be able to find ways to make these things work. But right now we're just in this uncertainty, so we have to ride it out. And, it's important to have live music. It's important to have these things, but it's also important to be safe and healthy. So, hopefully everything works out and everybody's raring to go next summer when this stuff kicks off again.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, dude. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you making some time out of your night to talk to us. We're talking to Bryon Stiky-Tips, mastermind behind the Redwood Metal Fest, Thrash Camp, and all sorts of festivals. Do you want to plug in your online events before I let you go?
Yeah, well, all of the events can be found on Facebook. It's the Northern California Hardcore Extreme Festival, the Punk Fest Online, the New Blood Festival, and the Redwood Cyber Fest. They will all be broadcast on Twitch TV. My channel is twitch.tv/Emerald Stage. And you can find anything that I do on Facebook, either on my page, Bryon Stiky-Tips, or the Metal Triangle page, or the Redwood Metal Fest forum page. Any of those places on Facebook, you can find these events and with links to watch.
Sounds awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for making time on the show. And this was Bryon Stiky-Tips, and you have a wonderful night, brother.
You too, man. Thanks for having me, man. You rock, dude.
Peace. That was awesome. That worked out great. No, and I know. Yeah, no. He's very. I like that guy. He's a very smart dude. Yep. So welcome back to the Metal Mixtape here on KSKQ 89.5 Ashland, Oregon, 94.1